168. And he's supposed to fight Caleb Plant in September.
He killed him. I thought he fought him already. He didn't fight him.
And I believe Caleb's going to box. You know Caleb Plant?
Caleb Plant ain't lasting the distance.
Caleb Plant's going to outbox Canelo Alvarez, Mike.
No.
I'm telling
maybe the first couple rounds, maybe.
For 12 rounds, Canelo is going to get outboxed by Caleb Plant. I said it on Hot Box.
Let's look at Caleb Plant. Let's look at this. I saw this guy fight that he's going to get slaughtered.
Mike, he's smooth, but he doesn't have Canelo power.
Listen.
The only thing he don't have the experience.
He's going to get clocked.
Caleb Plant is going to shock the world.
Listen.
What do you think about
this? Ain't listen. He's going to get so fucked up.
You think Caleb Plant has a chance with Canelo?
I mean,
anything's possible with two people.
No, anything can happen, but let's say the odds, everybody's under.
I
mean, he has the right style, and he's a friend of ours, so I hope he
look how
he's your friend. You're going to his funeral.
and he don't have the experience, but I believe he got the right style though.
Look at him, pretty. He's white. He can box. He's slick.
He look like some Floyd Mayweather shit.
Look at him, slick.
Wait till that motherfucking start hitting that body.
Yeah,
Alvarez hit that motherfucking body. Oh, something.
It's different. Can I tell you guys the biggest threat I think?
Let's look at him fighting. I want to see a fight.
Put the Utsukasaki fight.
David Benavidez.
Oh, look at this shit.
Yeah, 168. Yeah.
Mike, look how slick he is.
Oh, he's gonna get fucked up.
He's the one.
Yeah, but you can't compare with those opponents. That's the thing. But he got the skills. But he just got more experience, I think.
These guys are not.
Can I say something about that? I feel like he still has a lot of amateur. Like there's people that have that thump. You know what I'm saying? Canelo has that fucking thump.
I know.
Yeah. You know what Caleb's got? What a lot of guys don't. But Caleb buried his daughter when she was 2 years old.
Yeah.
He's got that killer attitude where.
I respect that. Anything's possible, but I'm telling you, man.
What's good, family? So mash the like button and subscribe. Oh, wow. So you man just heard there from Mike Tyson, and he was putting the lyrics down on your PBC man's Caleb Plant. Caleb's scary looking ass Plant. Where Caleb at? He missing. That's where he at. He pulling the PBC thing. He pulling the, oh man, you know, we on different sides of the street. I'm my own boss, but I gotta talk to Al Heyman. So you heard there from Caleb Plant, and listen. Caleb missing. I'm not even sure this fight going to happen. But let's assume for a second it is going to happen. Mike weren't playing even a little bit. He told you, man, exactly what time it is. I don't know what... Did you hear that next Shildon? What's his name? Badu Jack's manager. Some next Shildon talking about Mayweather and... What's wrong with you? And I understand that Mayweather did beat Alvarez 5 years, 6, 10 years ago, whatever it was. And for some reason, people think, okay, Alvarez only has one loss, so we'll just jump all over that. Oh, mate, he looked like Mayweather. Caleb Plant he fights nothing like Mayweather. People see someone with no power, and not aggressive, and can't bang, and they call him Mayweather. That's what they do, I swear down. Look at Billy Ho Saunders. But what was Billy Ho Saunders? Oh, mate, he Mayweather. Nothing like Mayweather. I'll tell you who's more similar. Caleb Plant is more similar to Billy Ho Saunders than either of them two are to Mayweather. Mayweather is a league in his own. Stop, just because Mayweather beat Canelo, yeah? Stop looking at Canelo Alvarez ops and telling me they're not. I wouldn't even mind you if they were like Mayweather, but they're not. It's a bit like Adrian Broner. People were saying, he the next Mayweather. He was nothing like Mayweather either. It's just a fact. Oh, look, he's like Mayweather. Oh, look at them skills. What skills? Caleb Plant ain't fought no one. And Mike and Henry Cejudo, the other guy talking, they know what they're, my opinion, I agree with them. Alvarez will cut through Caleb Plant. He don't have no sting. And to be fair, the Mayweather fight versus Alvarez would be interesting now, because I believe Alvarez is mature enough now. I think he'd cut through Mayweather. People have said for ages, people say Mayweather don't have power, but look how he kept Alvarez off him. I believe that was to do with immaturity, personally. I might be wrong. Maybe he wouldn't come forward against Mayweather, but I find it hard to believe that Alvarez now, being mature, can walk down Sergey Kovalev with no problems. But then, back in 13 or 14, whenever it was, he couldn't walk down Mayweather. I don't believe it's because Mayweather really stings. I believe at that point in time in his career, he got caught up in the hype, in the lights, and he got bamboozled, which we know Mayweather does well. Mayweather's very, very good at, if you're not mature, if you don't have your own game plan, if you're not, again, fully matured as a fighter, you can get controlled. You can get matadored. And the best way really to explain this, in my opinion, is look at De La Hoya. When De La Hoya fought Mayweather, in my opinion, he won that fight. It was close, but he won, in my opinion. What was De La Hoya at that point in his time? At that point in his career, De La Hoya was fully mature. He weren't. See what I'm trying to say? He was coming straight forward. He had no regard for Mayweather whatsoever. Other fighters, Alvarez, when Alvarez fought Mayweather, he wasn't De La Hoya's age. De La Hoya, by the time De La Hoya fought Mayweather, he had seen it all. He knew what he was doing. He came straight forward every time, until he started kind of mildly running out of gas. Alvarez was just too young, I feel. Now, though, he getting to it. So when people say things like, oh, well, Mayweather was 147 or 152, and he was able to keep Alvarez off. So look at Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant's a full 168. Of course he'll be able to keep Alvarez off him if Mayweather could. What you're not understanding is that Mayweather didn't keep... And I'm not saying he couldn't do it, but me personally now, I believe Alvarez now at 168, there's no way Mayweather now is keeping Alvarez off him. There's no way. Even Mayweather back then, if that makes sense. I'm telling you now. A 35-year-old Mayweather would not be able to keep a Canelo Alvarez from 2021 off him. That's my opinion. I believe he's mature enough, he's set in his way, he's skilled enough now. Again, people like to attribute a lot of kind of respect to Mayweather from that Alvarez fight. They say things like, yeah, Alvarez learnt a lot from that fight, and he absolutely did. But what people overlook is one of the things he learnt in that fight was getting over that hump and committing. After that loss, he said to himself, you know what, I ain't going to be caught. I'm not going to get caught lacking like that again. I'm not going to allow someone to control the pace again. And if you look at a lot of his fights since, and I believe even after the Triple G fight, the first Triple G fight, he had another reminder of that. And now, after the first Triple G fight and the Mayweather fight, he almost ever since, every time he's dominated the pace of the fight. Since the since the Mayweather fight and since the first Golovkin fight, ever since that, he's attempted to dominate and has successfully dominated the pace of the fight. And unfortunately, yes, Caleb Plant's a 168, but I don't think, pound for pound, Caleb Plant has more power than Mayweather did. And Canelo Alvarez now is just too mature. He will cut through him. He'll cut through Caleb Plant. I mean, look at Golovkin. Look at the second Golovkin fight. In the second Golovkin fight, Alvarez was holding his feet and banging with Golovkin. Now, if Alvarez can do that with Golovkin, and arguably in that second Golovkin fight, Golovkin was boxing. Golovkin was giving it that Caleb Plant look to an extent. Of course, he wasn't as slippery as Caleb Plant, but he wasn't trying to be. My point is, if Alvarez was able to walk down Golovkin and chase Golovkin down, and Golovkin's big shots, because I agree, in the first fight, to an extent, you could say Golovkin's shots, Alvarez was a bit wary of them. That second fight, he weren't wary even a bit. Got straight to work, which is what I'm trying to explain to you about the maturity part and learning and experience. Now, though, having gotten over the Mayweather and Golovkin lessons, unless there's someone of their kind of class, in my opinion, to beat Canelo Alvarez now, you're going to need someone, a hybrid between Mayweather and Golovkin. Someone who's got the thump of Golovkin, but who's as cute. I'm not saying you need to be exactly as good, as cute as a high IQ as Mayweather, but you'd need something similar. I'm telling you now, Caleb Plant ain't it. He don't have the thump of Golovkin, and he don't have. That's the thing here. So he fails in both sectors. If he was genuinely like a Mayweather level, I'd say yeah, man. But you've got to be one or the other to have a chance in this fight. You've either got to be a banger, as good as Golovkin or better, or a Mayweather. Plant ain't neither. If Mayweather's a 10, I'd give Plant a 7. If Golovkin's a 10, I'd give Plant a 6. This ain't a hard fight. This for me, now I will say this. Billy Ho and Plant, they're closer to each other than they are to Mayweather. But Plant is a league above Billy Ho. If Billy Ho's a 5, Plant would be a 7, a 7.5 in my opinion. But unfortunately, if Billy Ho's a 5, guess what Alvarez is? Alvarez is a 9. So you've got a 9 coming up against a 7.5. It's only going to go one way. Another example. Alvarez is not an Andre Ward. He's just not. He just ain't an Andre Ward. He ain't that kind of guy. Andre Ward went in there with Kovalev, and for whatever reason, he went in there and stuck it on him in that second fight. Very rare qualities, and that's why you man who follow my channel, you know that's the fight I really want to see. I think as fight fans who really lost out there, that would have been interesting, because you have a Hall of Famer, a top ticket Hall of Famer in Andre Ward versus a top ticket Hall of Famer in Alvarez. That's interesting. Why? Andre Ward, in my opinion, I would consider to be of the same. You know, when I was talking about you have to be like Mayweather or Golovkin, I'd say Andre Ward being at 175 if Alvarez went up there again, or even if they came down to a catch weight, I don't know, 171, they meet in the middle. Either way, that would be interesting. Why? Because I believe at that weight, Andre Ward has proven he has similar to Golovkin power, in as much as he beat Kovalev up when Kovalev was who he was. And also he's shown he's got the IQ and is able to execute a game plan. That would be the fight I'm talking about. Now, is Caleb Plant an Andre Ward? No, he's not, in my opinion. Which is why this fight isn't interesting. Which is why Mike's saying what he's saying. The only one around, and I know it's the thing, Andre Ward's been retired for about 3 years, so that's not even, is that fight even entertaining now? I'd want to see it, but that for me really is the only fight I want to see. Or would be competitively entertaining. I'm talking about 50-50 entertaining. Because even Alvarez versus Golovkin now, Golovkin's way too old. And Canelo's just getting better. And he had his number in the second fight, more or less. It would be easy work for Alvarez now. I wouldn't mind seeing the third fight just to see how much easy work it is, kind of thing. See how much Alvarez has moved on. But Caleb Plant, like Mike says, these goofies, Badu Jack's trainer, they're just chilling for their friends. It's a bit like Tyson Fury. That's all I heard. When I heard them man chilling for Caleb Plant, all I heard was Tyson Fury chilling for Billy Ho. They'll be the same dons. When Caleb Plant gets splattered, they'll be the same dons missing from the... You know what I'm saying? They'll be the same dons who disappear on a flight to Miami to go to the club and turn up with the delinquent Adrian Broner. They're them kind of cats. Talk. Their man gets squatted and they go missing for 4 months. And you best believe... the way Mike was dropping lyrics about Caleb Plant, it's nothing disrespectful. It's just what it is. There's levels to this game. And unfortunately, boxing is the most brutal game where levels, for example, in football, yeah, if you lose by 1-0 or if you lose by 5-0, and it don't really, people will say things, but it don't really matter. You don't really notice the difference, do you? In basketball, if you lose by 10-0 or if you lose by 50-0, no, it don't make no difference. In boxing, in boxing, when you lose by 10-0 or 50-0, it's night and day, and that's the point here. That's what Mike's trying to get at. You best believe your man's. You best book the funeral in. And I don't rate this whole... People are, even again, Badu Jack's manager talking about, well, he's lost his daughter, and just stop giving it all that BBC politics stuff. Yes, of course, that's horrible. But you don't mean... What's Alvarez? What? And what does that do? Because we've heard all this before. We heard all that... And I'm not saying Caleb Plant's a Billy Ho Saunders. But, end of the day, like I said, I believe Caleb Plant has higher integrity than Billy Ho Saunders, but he's still a man. He still has feelings. He still has a chin. Yeah? He's still a human. And like I said, there's levels to this game. And unfortunately, that just doesn't factor in. When Alvarez is marching forward and putting... We've seen... How many great fighters have we seen just fall apart in front of Alvarez? I mean, for me, yeah, Callum Smith was a big wake-up call. Callum Smith was a big 168, as big as they get at 168. And we've seen Callum Smith cut through George Groves. And let's not forget, people like to talk about George Groves. George Groves schooled your man, Badu Jack. Yeah? Don't forget that. George Groves was the man at 168. Well, certainly he was one of the mans at 68. And Callum Smith, at the time, when Callum Smith whooped George Groves, yeah, he felt to me like a new breed of 168. He's tall, he's long, but he could also bang. He stopped George Groves with a body shot. Your man Badou Jack didn't stop George Groves. George Groves didn't get stopped for nothing, really. And it was an easy fight as well. Callum Smith stopped George Groves in an easy fight. I thought, wow, there's a new age at 168. That's the truth. Canelo Alvarez, who's a small 168, was just coming up to the weight more or less. Gets in there with Callum Smith. For me, before the fight, genuinely, I thought, man, this is going to be interesting. Because Callum Smith is a new age 168er who's literally cutting through the best competition. He gets in there, and Alvarez turned him out and made him look like an amateur in there. And the shots in the last round or two, Callum Smith started trying to sit down and started trying to exchange. His shots just don't hit the same. They just don't. The shots were bouncing off. I could see he was probably trying his best to do something, and it's bouncing off. It was like he was fighting RoboCop. Seriously, it was honestly very rarely do I watch a fight and I'm scared. I was scared watching that. I felt bad for him. It felt to me like he was in a dream. You've had them dreams, yeah, where I've had dreams before where people often mention dreams where you're trying to fight and you're too slow, but I've had a dream before where I was conscious, and I swear to God, you're not going to believe me, but I swear to God, I had a dream before, yeah, where I had a dream before where, you know, where you're trying to punch hard, but you can't, but also I was conscious, so it's really weird. I was trying to punch hard, but I couldn't, and so what, I was literally, in my dream, I was bending my knee, I swear to God, you ain't going to believe me, yeah, but in this dream, I was having one of them can't punch hard dreams, or punching really slow dreams, but then somehow I ended up being conscious in my dream. I've had it a few times, to be fair. A few times in my dreams I realise I'm dreaming. Anyway, 2-2s. So I ended up bending my knees and proper trying to turn my shots. So I swear to God, I started trying to implement some boxing form in my dream. And it just weren't working. I thought, what's going on? My knees are bent. I'm digging my elbow in. I'm trying to dig my knuckles in. It weren't working. And then watching Callum Smith in that ring with Alvarez in the last round, and he was doing the same. I could see him because for most of the fight, he weren't throwing no shots. In that last round, I could see him trying to get some get back, trying to put some rubber on the road. He weren't, and Alvarez, it just wasn't. There's just levels to this game, and that's what worries me. That scared me, especially like I've just explained about the whole build up to it. How much I rated Callum Smith going into that fight. It was 50-50 to me, genuinely. I thought potentially, no joke, I thought this might have been a whitewash. Genuinely, I thought potentially Callum Smith was going to school him. Not school him, but I thought he was going to proper, you know what I'm saying? And next thing I know, and I understand it was short notice, or it was somewhat short notice and whatnot, but either way, it was night and day. There wasn't no amount of notice that was going to change the way that fight went, I don't believe. The way Callum Smith shut down was just crazy. He shut him down and turned him out. It takes a certain type of fighter to do that to men at that level. Just turning them top caliber dons out like that. That's what you call turned out. Yeah? Turned him out. And sent him packing up to 175. In fact, Callum Smith now got a new trainer. Do you understand? Can you, man, fathom the kind of mental torment it takes for a man? Callum Smith's had one trainer his whole career. So what kind of mental torment does a man have to lose a fight to someone and then leave their trainer of 10 years? Do you understand? It's all adding up now, right? You get it? Callum Smith's been dealing with what's the word? He's been dealing with existential. He's had an existential crisis of life. What does life even mean? I'm in there with my knees bent, digging away, and the shots are just bouncing off. That makes you ask serious questions about your life. Hence, you know what? I need to leave this trainer. I've got to change something seriously because whatever I am now isn't enough. He don't want to feel like that again. He don't want to be in the ring, bending his knees, feeling like he's in a bad dream, digging away, and the shots are bouncing off, and the man's coming forward, and you're thinking, "Oh crap, this is real." Yeah. And having said all that, if I can put that much clout into I believe Callum Smith, but I think Callum Smith, in fact, that'd be a good fight. Callum Smith versus Caleb Plant. That's what should be happening about now, if that makes sense. That's where Caleb Plant is now. Caleb Plant is at the level where he needs to answer the question of someone like Callum Smith. Yeah, that's where he is. And I've said this for a long time about boxing, but boxing in the last few years or whenever, we've really gotten away from the whole contender part. Alvarez is a super champion. These guys don't want to fight each other. Billy Ho didn't want to fight Poo Andrade. There's a whole lot of examples of it. At the moment, it's like the contenders just sit around fighting bums, and then super champions pop up like AJ and Canelo, and then they all just fight them individually. Which makes the sport boring. How the sport's meant to go is, a super champion really sits around not doing much, and the little guys all fight each other until someone kind of rises above it all. Can you sit there and say Caleb Plant rose above it all? He ain't beat no one I'd consider a name. It's unfortunate, but it's the truth. And on that basis, I don't know how anyone can back him. For me to back Caleb Plant, I'd need to see him rip through someone I rate. Like I said, right now, Caleb Plant should be fighting someone like Callum Smith. That would be interesting. Callum Smith versus Caleb Plant. If Caleb Plant went in there, yeah, and schooled Callum Smith, now we can see a narrative there. Oh, look. Alvarez beat Callum Smith, but look, Caleb Plant did too, and possibly in better fashion. That's how narratives are supposed to be built. They're not built by, well, Caleb Plant just sat around doing nothing at all and being scary and blaming Al Heyman. But we're not even sure we're going to get this fight, to be fair. I'm not. If I was to bet, I don't think we will get it. But either way, if we do, I'm with Mike. Caleb Plant in trouble. He in real trouble. Real trouble. I can potentially see a stoppage. Well, tell a lie, it's going to go one of two ways. Either Caleb Plant comes to fight and he gets stopped, or he does what most fighters do, what Callum Smith did, and he shells up and he goes defense only. Mikey Garcia versus Errol Spence style. That's the two ways this fight will go. He will shell up and probably survive, or he will bend his knees from the jump and get clipped and he'll be out of there. I don't see a way he wins this fight even a bit. For me, this fight will be about how he loses. He goes out on his back with dignity, or he goes out there. Well, there's a few ways. He can join Billy Ho and Jack, but I don't think he'd Jack. But then again, I've seen it all before. Caleb Plant does seem too humble to Jack, from what I've seen. He actually refused to slag off Billy Ho. So, people who are that humble normally, it's a bit like Callum Smith. Callum Smith never slagged no one off. Yeah, men who have that humbleness, they're often a lot more durable because their mind works differently. Big mouths, that's all they are. Is a big mouth, and they love rolling over as well. Billy Ho loves to roll over. It's his favourite thing to do.